everybody. Welcome
Hi,
to our
everybody.
show. My name is Aurora, and
I am Monique.
wonderful. Great. So we have, what is this, our fifth episode? I think it's our
I
fifth
think it's
episode.
four,
Is it
number
four?
four.
Four or
Hmm.
five, depending
It's
on whether or
four.
not we count that second one.
Yeah, it's four.
That was really short. So, we welcome all of you guys, as well as any of our star families and friends who want to join us if they have anything positive or productive to contribute to our conversation. Just please don't mess with our electronics. I think we finally have it figured out. And
Yep.
today we shouldn't have an issue. And yeah, my little two-way radios are going off. One click means a yes. So I'll have to
That's
tell you
good.
guys about the radios, some other time. But anyway, today Monique has a very interesting story about something that just happened to her recently. And also, we're going to touch a little bit on the topic of dreams, especially since last time we were chatting about, how do we determine if something is real? And, we pretty much came to the conclusion that whatever experience you have, that's a real experience for you. And, it should definitely be validated. So, Monique, why don't you start with the thing you found in your purse out of the blue?
Okay. Well, actually, we're going to start from the very beginning. And it's funny that you mentioned about dreams because this also involves a dream after. Okay, let me see if I've got it here. Okay, I went out for I was craving hot and sour soup. And I went and got some from the Chinese place. And of course, they gave a little fortune cookie and just for fun, And it's superstition, but I'll eat half of it first before I ever start reading the little fortune. And this is the fortune I got. And I actually took a picture of it. And it says, um, to today, expect the unexpected and embrace the adventure. Now,
Interesting. So it said today, like as in
yes,
yesterday?
all the times I've ever gotten a fortune, I've never had anything say about something was going to happen that day. It's usually things like, um, you know, uh, those who whatever
Yeah, it's usually
will
some future
find
thing.
good. It's more like a vague kind of thing. But this is the first time I got something that says today, expect the unexpected and embrace the adventure. And I found that to be very curious. I was like, I've never had a fortune like that before. That was interesting.
Yeah, that was really
And
specific.
yeah, that exactly. Usually they're really vague. And it was funny. So, and I remember when I mentioned it to my mother, she kind of poo-pooed it and was like, oh, that's nonsense. And I was like, okay, whatever, that's okay. You can think that. I was thinking to myself, but I just felt I was meant to get this fortune. And so talk about the unexpected. Leesburg had its bike fest this past weekend. And luckily, let me put this in before I get into the rest of the story. As I've said before, I suffer with Lyme disease, and I'm battling it. And I had gotten an invite for a group that deals with intentions.
Hmm.
And you give in good intentions for someone else, and then you can also put out your intention, what you would like to see happen for you. And I said, I have just been struggling lately with the Lyme. I've been having fatigue and pain and everything.
Hmm.
And so I put out my good intentions for everybody else and to have their intentions met and that they did it for me. And my gosh, do you know what? It worked. It
Oh,
worked
wow.
because I was able to, it is crazy. And it's funny thing is, I'm real skeptic, I hate to say, but when it comes to stuff
Hmm.
like that, but it actually worked. And I was so glad because before that, I had a friend who I'd been doing pet sitting for, and as a gift, got me for my family, helped me get 4-day passes for me and my daughter, and my mom ended up having to get her own, but we went to Disney
Oh,
for two
wow.
days. And for someone with Lyme, that's like, I had been worrying the whole time. I was like, yeah, I really wanted to do this for my daughter. I couldn't do what I had dreamed of and hoped of being able to do, which would have been somehow by miracle, we get to Egypt or something, but that didn't happen, of course. And then with all the stuff going on there, it's probably a good idea that it didn't anyways. But
Hey, did you
anyway,
did you go to Epcot at Disney?
we went to Disney World the first day and then Epcot the second. And amazingly, apart from being a little tired, I got through it with no pain, which was
Wow.
surprising because I had had all this anxiety that the Lyme was, this was really going to do me in, but I did not want to let my daughter down. This was her gift, because her birthday is May 17th and she's graduating from high school May 23rd, and she got accepted to her university that she
Nice.
wanted to go to. Yeah, so it's a huge deal. So I wanted to do something huge for her this year, but I didn't know how. I just kept trying to manifest something. If I couldn't, like, I wanted to manifest Egypt, but it didn't work out,
Yeah, Disney trip
Yeah.
is pretty good second best, I guess.
Yeah. Well, considering that I don't have like a numerous amount of funds,
Yeah.
and that I just tried to manifest something. I'm like, please, and so because I was helping a friend and that, she decided to gift me
Nice.
uh, for these tickets. So I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I managed to get through that. And then here, the very next weekend, we have the Bike Fest. And I really didn't want to miss that because it's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just it's different for our town. Leesburg is not a very big town, as you know. So this was a big major deal because it's like, it really stands out and it makes the town stand out. It's just, like, I know Daytona has theirs and it's always been there, but, um, there's other towns in Florida that have done, but it didn't pan out, not the way this had worked out with Leesburg. So it's very
Nice.
special
Yeah.
kind of thing. So amazingly, I had the energy for that. So I went to the Bike Fest. So we're getting back to the story now. I went to the Bike Fest that night, and the first night I went with my daughter, and that we walked around, we had fun, we listened to take some pictures and that mom and daughter pictures. But then the next night was when the big band Fuel
Mm.
was going to be playing. It was Lit and Fuel, two bands that I'm fans of, and that, and I had
Oh, nice.
their stuff on my set list on my Spotify and that. And so my son was like, he really wanted to go so bad. And I was like, okay, I'll go with you down there. And I was like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to get this energy from, but I just
So,
drank some.
wait. You went with your son and your daughter that second
No,
night?
I went. The first night was just my daughter and
Oh,
me.
okay.
Trying to remember if my son went that first night, but he kind of did his own thing.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
just me and my daughter walking around. The second night, it was just me and my son. My daughter didn't
Okay.
feel like going. And it was funny because expect the unexpected. Well, um,
Wait,
my
is that the
son,
day? Is that the day that you got the little fortune?
yes, I'm getting all
Okay.
mixed up. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I did not get the soup on the Friday. Sorry. It was the next day.
Okay.
Oh, right. I want to thank you. I'm getting all twisted here. Yes. The day I got this,
Right.
that evening, my son says out of the blue, he's like, oh, I want to so bad before seeing Fuel, I want to get a tattoo. And I was like, cool, I'll watch you get it. And he says, sure, mom, you come watch me. So we went down there and we were looking at us and, oh, I wish, one day I could ever afford to get a tattoo. I said, but I said, I have so many things to pay for. I can't. And he says, you want a tattoo, mom? And I said, yeah, one day. And he says, you know what? I got this.
Oh, dang.
And I just totally shocked me. And so I decided, because I wrote about Sobek,
Yeah.
and that he's like the main character of my novel series. So
Plus in your life too. Oh, look at that. I love it. That's
yeah,
so
with all the
cool.
things that have happened in my life revolving around Sobek and the
Yeah.
property, I went and got his name tattooed.
Nice. Good for you. That's
My
awesome.
mother thought I was nuts, but I mean, that was the unexpected. I did not know my son was going to turn around and
Yeah.
surprise me like that. Well, then the unexpected continues. um, Sunday, was it Sunday? Um, I'm getting days mixed up because
That's
my
okay.
daughter, she happened to be out of school yesterday because of teacher's work day. So she had all week off, plus she had teacher's work day.
Nice.
And uh, it was, yeah, it was Sunday.
So a couple of days ago.
I, yeah, we were, um, just getting ready to go somewhere. I'm trying to remember where. And I'm going to show you this purse. I didn't want anything heavy on me. And this is the bag. It's a
Oh,
little
that's
handbag
cute.
that and it's nice and it's light, and I wanted that for the bike fest, so I wasn't, because you have to do a lot of walking and I didn't want,
Yeah.
back and neck issues. And so I was carrying this handbag around with me, but before I put anything in it, this handbag, before I ever deal with any handbags, I'm checking to make sure that there is absolutely nothing in it, because I definitely don't want any extra weight. So it was completely empty, all compartments, nothing in it, right? So then I put my little bit of makeup, my hairbrush, that kind of thing. Then the next day came, and I decided I wanted would have been Monday. Maybe it was yesterday. Because
Okay.
it was yesterday, right? That I told you
You
about the
know what?
watch.
I have the same problem with days. They all just kind of
Okay.
blend in after a
Well,
while. But
anyways,
anyway, yeah.
yeah, it was Monday,
Okay.
because I've been carrying around this bag. Okay. And it was because it was nice and lightweight. But
Okay.
this time, when I got in the car yesterday, my son was taking me and my family out for, it was for my daughter, for her, because her birthday's coming. He says, I want to do her birthday
Yeah.
present early this year, because he never knows with his schedule, because he's was made promoted to staff manager, or
Mm.
a shift manager. And so his schedule is crazy. So he says, so I want to do it while I can. And so he said, I'll treat the whole family out to lunch. So we're like, great, so get in the car and everything. And I'm like, man, my purse is heavy. What the heck is in here? And I'm looking, and I open this zipper compartment
Mm-hmm.
inside. Now my purse is zipped shut, and I open this zipper compartment,
Yeah.
and I discover a male watch,
That's crazy.
a man's watch. How in the
That's
world
crazy.
did a
Is it
man's watch?
elastic? The band on it,
It's,
is it
it's
elastic or oh, it has
no,
a
I mean,
clasp.
you can't really, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not elastic. It's
And the
metal. It's
clasp is closed.
yeah,
Huh.
and this is how, and yeah, it wasn't open or nothing. It was closed in my
Weird.
bag. I don't even know how to open it. Actually, I have to, and it's
Huh.
steel. I mean, it says it's made of steel. And the crazy thing is that um, if it would have been like, okay, here's the thing. Okay, if it would have slipped off of a person's hand doing my tattoo or whatever,
Yeah.
they would have, how would that, they would have had to open my handbag and then
Right.
open the compartment inside my handbag, put it in, zip it back up, and then zip my purse up.
That doesn't sound realistic.
No,
Yeah.
there's no way, right?
Plus, you'd have to open the clasp to take off the watch, and then you would
Exactly.
close it back up again and unzip two zippers of your purse that's right there next to you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see that as plausible.
Yeah. And I had my purse over me like this so
Yeah,
that my phone could be worked on. So how would
right.
you see what I'm saying? It didn't make a bit of
That's
sense.
crazy.
And so just to be on the safe side, I contacted the tattoo company and they said, nobody has a watch like that. No, didn't.
Yeah,
And so, and I know there was no, I know because I was the one who had made sure every compartment
right.
of that
And you know
purse.
what? It's not such a small thing that it would get lost in the folds of a purse. I mean, a watch is pretty
Yeah.
substantial, so it's not like you missed it. You
And
couldn't
it's
have missed
heavy.
it. Yeah,
Exactly. It made a lot of weight because this
right,
thing is not lightweight at all.
right.
And I
Huh.
was like, because I was like, why is my watch? So I thought my son, and I showed him, he says, I don't have a watch like that, Mom. He says, I've never seen that before. So here's something I'm going to bring up that's really, really interesting. And I had not thought of it until yesterday when I was talking to Shams. Um, Years ago, of course, he had not seen it, believe it or not. He's going to have to watch it. But Poltergeist, if you remember the movie in Poltergeist, there was one point where people's, like the spirits or whatever, jewelry and all fell out of the ceiling.
Oh, I don't remember that. You know what? I don't know if I've watched that movie. It was too scary for me.
Yeah. Well, it's been it was the first, I believe it was the first one, and all this stuff started coming out of the ceiling, and
Okay.
it was like personal items, jewelry and everything.
Huh.
And I believe there was watches in it. And here I had this thing happen.
Trippy.
And what is one of the things that I do of my intuitive skills?
Your
I,
superpower.
I do psychometry. I hold on to someone's personal item and I will try and read the energy off of it and get an idea.
And I've seen you do it. It's pretty wild. It is pretty wild. I mean, when you did that thing for my husband, that was right on point. And then we were driving home. My husband and I, we'd left where we were at our friend's house, and you sent me this message. It was like the middle of the night, midnight or 1 or something like that, about this thing that she got about a big toe.
Yeah,
Remember?
getting smashed.
Right. And
Something
then
heavy
I
dropping
told
on
my
it.
husband about it. And I mean, I knew about his big toe. And I told him about it. He just started up laughing because he had dropped an anchor on his big toe many, many years ago and almost lost it. So for you to pick up on that, that was just crazy. And you weren't holding anything anymore. You said this was came to you on the way home.
The energy, it still kind of sticks
It
with me
lingers.
sometimes
Yeah.
after, and I actually have to be really careful with that when not, but I've had where, okay, a lot of, like, I did for fun, I did, readings I had a Halloween party.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so everybody was excited and they all lined up to see and they all had a personal item with them
Uh-huh.
to have me hold and read the energy and tell them something about it. It went over very well.
Oh, I bet.
Um, and what I had to do was in between each one, I would clean my hands or wash my hands in that so I can make
Yeah.
sure, just try to kind of rid
Yeah.
any
Oh, yeah.
energy so that I don't mix up
Sure.
when I'm
That
doing the
makes
readings.
sense. Yeah.
So, but there was one incident where I did a energy reading for a friend of mine. She asked me, she didn't tell me, and I wish I'd have been prepared. I should have protected myself
Okay.
before doing it. And she hands me this paper, and I can't see what's on it. And she tells me to hold it, and I'm holding it. And the first thing I start getting was I was smelling alcohol and that. And I was like, it felt very sterile, and I was seeing this sterile room and like
Like a hospital type?
yeah, well, I'll get to what it was.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a vision of got a sharp pain in my
Oh.
head. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
what is, and so we had to stop it. She's like, and I said, because, I said, whoever was involved or whatever, I said, man, I
Head
feel like
injury or
it's somebody
something.
that had passed away.
Oh, wow.
That
Okay.
I was sensing. She turned the paper over and she said this was from the morgue
Oh, my gosh.
report. So that's why I was smelling the alcohol and stuff. But the pain
Oh,
was,
jeez.
they were trying, the death was, what do you call it? Uh, Unknown, like they didn't know, but I
Unknown
got the sense.
causes?
Yeah, with that,
Unknown causes? An unknown cause
right,
of death?
right.
Oh,
They found
okay.
him in the water. He would been
Oh.
had gone fishing and that, but he was face down or whatever and that.
Mm.
But he, when this happened, he died. He didn't like drown. He had, I think it was a stroke.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Okay.
so that would explain why I had this
Yeah.
sharp pain all of a sudden. That started. I don't know if that's how strokes, because I don't know nothing
Yeah,
about
I don't
stroke,
know. But
but
that's really crazy. Holy cow. And you picked up all of that from one piece of paper.
yeah, yeah,
Dang.
I
Anyway,
did.
get back to the
And
watch. I want to hear what happens with that. Because, I mean, if you
uh,
picked that up off a piece of paper, I can't wait to hear what you picked up off of this watch.
so, I decided, and I made sure to do any kind of protection this time on this
Good.
watch. I was like, okay, this is a sign. I was like, this is weird. This watch disappeared, right,
Yeah.
in my handbag.
Especially if you don't
And
know where it's from, you know?
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Nobody, like I said, and the purse was completely empty.
Right.
So it had not been there before. It wasn't like it was something where, it got left in
Yeah.
that handbag was empty. And then this just appeared
Right.
yesterday there. And
Expect the
all of a sudden,
unexpected. That's
yeah.
what your fortune said,
So,
right?
so then what happened was I decided to do an energy reading on. Of course, I did protection.
Yeah.
And I picked up a a young black man was the original owner of the watch, and I felt that I kept hearing, oh, I felt that this guy was in the military, and I was feeling like, okay, Navy is what I was feeling, and the watch. Now this is interesting because it says it's Japan, as we were discussing before,
Yeah, the mechanism inside,
Japan movie,
yeah, those are made in
Japan movie.
Japan, and I guess they're assembled in the States. They're pretty common, from what I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah.
they're pretty common. But anyhow, I got this, and then all of a sudden I was hearing this woman's name, and it came out so clear and strong. I kept hearing Beatrice, Beatrice.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay, so I think that this woman was possibly a grandmother.
Hmm.
And I got that she was a grandmother, but this was maybe the guy's mother. And he was possibly one of the sons, because I heard two sons.
Hang on, you
And
know what?
one,
While you're telling that story, let me just tell you what I'm doing here, so that I'm paying attention. I'm gonna ask Grok what year that watch was made.
oh, I wanted to know too.
So I'm gonna do
I
that.
don't, I don't
Anyway,
feel
go
like
ahead.
I don't feel like it's really old, but I feel like it's, maybe, who knows, 2000s or something. It could be maybe 90s for all I know.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm not supposed to scratch there. I didn't scratch my tattoo. Okay. So I got the feeling that one of the sons was named Tyrone, and the other one's name was, I kept hearing
Yeah.
Trey, but I think it was that they called him Trey, but his full name, I think, was Trevon, but everybody called him Trey. So I
Okay.
hear Trey and Tyrone. So these
Hang
two.
on. Here's what I found out. according to the back of it, the inscription on the back,
Hmm.
it says that the code often indicates a production year. The 1908, it means it was made in 2019 with
Ah,
a
see?
with 8th as the month, so it's in August. So this was likely made in August 2019, according to Grok.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, go
So
ahead. Go ahead. I'll see if I
that,
can find any more about that watch.
that's interesting. Okay. So we are in 2025.
Yeah, so it's six
So
years ago.
it makes me wonder. I did get the feeling in the beginning that this is someone that passed, you know?
Okay.
So then that would make sense. You know what I mean? Obviously,
Yeah.
a baby's not going to have this. And if it
Right.
was someone that is currently alive, well, how did it get, you know what I'm saying, end up in my handbag?
Right. Right.
It
I
makes
can't
no.
figure that out. How that ended up in your bag. That is just crazy.
So yeah, so the only sense I could make of it is it has to come from, someone who passed. That's the only thing I
Okay.
can think
Okay.
of. And but it was just very interesting to me because then, okay, granted, all of this, I'm not saying that there's any facts here or anything. This is
Right.
strictly
Right.
what, you know, my intuitive is saying, okay? But that's just, I'm not saying that I'm right or anything like that. I'm just saying that for me, this is what I've picked up.
Right.
And anyhow, it was weird. I could have dreamt about anything last night. Well, first, let me tell you this. I got awakened for no reason, as I never have normal sleep.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
just
You
said
don't.
I'm very sensitive to energy changes. So I don't think, because I have always said that I didn't want, hey, you know, whatever, don't wake me up. I need my sleep. But what happens is I think because I'm so sensitive, subconsciously I pick up energy shifts. And so
Hmm.
when the like, I think that what it is just like how we function in this world, in the other world, and that they're just maybe passing through,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know.
For sure.
And so because of it, it wakes me up.
Right.
They don't have to be trying to get my attention or anything. Although I think this one was probably to get my attention
Okay.
because of the whole deal with the watch, and because I wanted to know. I was
Hmm.
really curious to know. I got woken up for no reason at 2:33 in the morning.
Okay. That's a sign
And,
right there.
yeah, and I found that was interesting, and I was like, I wonder if this is a sign. I couldn't quite remember that dream I had. But when I went back to sleep,
Hmm.
I started to dream. Now, I wasn't like sitting there and thinking about, I was just tired. I
Right.
just wanted to go back to sleep. I'm not sitting there thinking about, even though I thought, I wonder if it's a sign. I wasn't sitting there thinking about what I got about this watch.
Right.
You
Right.
know, all I was thinking about was I wanted to go back to sleep. But oddly enough, I started to have this dream and I saw a black male um, military doctor. And I remembered going in this room that had that, I don't know what they call that glass, but it's the kind of glass that,
Frosted
like
glass? Like
frosted
frosted?
glass.
Okay. Okay.
That's it. I couldn't think of the name of it. Yes. So there was this room and it had this frosted glass. So, and I felt like the frosted glass was um, a metaphor or symbolic for
Okay.
that he had to have some kind of clearance for this. So
Ah.
I go into this room and I see like all these scientists and other
Hmm.
doctors and everything. Now, I didn't see what they were working on. But I remembered feeling in the dream that it had something to do with possibly ET technology or something like that. Maybe it's something
Oh,
for,
wow. That's wild.
yeah.
That is wild.
And that was in my dream. I felt this, not when my wake
Yeah,
hours trying
yeah.
to.
So,
That was in my dream. I
do you
felt that.
think the young black man in your dream, do you think he's the owner of the watch?
I do.
So
I
he
really do.
passed away though, you think?
Yeah.
Interesting. So a young man who passed away.
Yeah.
That would not be natural causes, most likely. Probably
Right.
illness, or, it's not old
That's what I
age,
was
clearly.
thinking. That's what I was thinking, but I feel like what it was trying so hard to get my attention. And then the other strange thing is our mutual friend said yesterday, or was it not yesterday, Saturday, or when was it? Not Saturday. I'm getting mixed up now.
That's okay. I wouldn't worry about it.
It might have been the day I got this. I know it was the same day I got this, so it had to be
Okay.
Monday. Because
Okay.
she
Yeah.
says, well, that's odd. She said because she kept getting knocking on her front door, and she went to look. She said there each time she was getting a strange knock on her door,
Yeah.
there was no one there. There
Oh,
was no one there.
That's
She
weird.
said she checked all the perimeters of her property, because I was telling her about this, and she was like, well, that's so weird, because I had something odd happen to me. And she said I kept getting knocking on my front door. But she says I would go, and she says I checked the whole perimeter, no one there. She said each time I went and checked, there was no one there.
That's interesting. That you think the two are related? Your dream and her?
I do. She thought so too.
Okay.
She thinks so too. So whoever it is, they're definitely trying to get.
Right. So you had this dream the night between Monday and Tuesday. Is that right? You had
It would have been no, because today is Tuesday. Yeah, Monday and Tuesday.
So last night, right? See,
Yes,
I have the same
yes.
problem with time that you do.
Yeah,
So
I
you
do.
found this watch in your purse, and then the following night you had this dream about this black young man who was in
He was
this
very handsome, and he was
scientific environment that
Yeah.
had to do with ET technology.
yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. In what
It
what
was
seemed
to
to
do
you
with
like
probably with whatever they're going to use medically
yeah.
or
So
whatever, because that would explain why he, being a doctor, would be in that
yeah.
room.
And you said it felt like a secret place because of the frosted glass, and you needed clearance to get in there.
Yes.
Wow. That is so cool.
So, I don't know. I always say I am, it's funny because people might call me Weird Monique or whatever, the weird girl. I like to say
Monique the Freak.
Unique Monique.
I like Unique
Yeah.
Monique, yeah.
Yeah, instead of Monique the Freak or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm just Unique Monique, right?
That's so much better.
I had a friend that actually said to me, she laughed and she said, you have the weirdest thing. She said,
Yeah.
you know what you remind me of? She says, when you always hear about that 1 in a million of something crazy happening
Right,
to someone,
right.
she said,
That's
you always
you.
wonder, who is that one? And she said, it's you. The way she said it, it's you. I don't know. I attract weird. I don't know. Something like that.
Oh, that's
So-
all right. That's why you're fun to hang around with. One of the reasons.
Well, I try really hard. I mean, because I'm not trying to even when my friends, I did it for more to help. Like, there are things I need. I need a car really bad, and I'm trying to manifest that kind of thing and that. But I've never looked at it as a way of, I've had friends or people and they've tried to offer me, and I'm like, look, I'm not trying to make any kind of business or anything. And plus, don't take anything I say for, rock solid evidence, because
So
you
you do this, what'd you call it? Telemetry? No, psychometry? Psychometry. Okay.
Well, that, and then I also dabble with remote viewing. I was actually.
Oh, yeah. Tell me that story again. Oh, that is so cool. Tell me that story again.
This is wild. I was at of all things, during the day, my friend and we went to attend a MUFON meeting.
Okay.
Over in Castleberry or somewhere around there. And on our ride back, and I'm in thick traffic in Altamont Springs.
Oh, you're driving. Okay.
I'm driving.
Okay. All right.
And it's thick traffic. And you're talking about in Altamont Springs where I don't know if they call it 434 or four, whatever that road is,
Yeah.
that intersects with 441. Okay, so right in that, and there's this big traffic jam going on, and my friend gets a phone call from her friend, and this guy tells her that he has a woman friend. She's in a huge panic, wants our help. She lost a significant amount of money that it was her from her savings, and I guess what I was gathering from when I remote viewed in that, it was in the form of a check, like I don't know,
A cashier's check or a money
cashier's
order?
check or something like that,
Okay.
And she had it in an envelope. Well, she misplaced the envelope and she was freaking out. So
Oh,
my
wow.
friend said to me, "Do you think?" She said, "Monique, do you think you could?" And I'm like, "Okay, thick traffic." She says, "Let's see if you can." So okay, so I'm here in thick traffic, and I remote viewed, and clearly, so I don't know. Sometimes driving and stuff can stimulate
Yes, it
water
does.
driving, and it tends to like,
I get
and so
downloads when I'm driving sometimes. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I got this clear, distinct view of this. She had an art room in her place, like a downstairs art room, and I saw. Um, she also had like a lot of books and magazines, and she had a collection of like. She was into like antique pails and stuff, and I reckon she probably refurbished them or whatever, or made them out of into an art thing or whatever. Like I remember seeing pots and pails, and
Okay.
and I saw this blue one, and it had like little red flowers and
This
that
is
around.
all from remote viewing. You
Hmm.
got that much detail while you're
Yep.
driving in traffic. That's just nuts. Anyway,
and,
go on.
and so I was like, okay, she's got this, the envelope is under this blue antique pail that's on a stack of magazines. She's got the pail on top of it. And so I told my friend to tell him that. And so she
Yeah.
told him that while I was on the phone. And so he says, okay, well, I will give her that message. And so I was like, and she hung up, and I was like, oh, I'd be curious. I don't know how good I
Right.
was,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying, right? Um, the next day, she gets a call from her male friend, and the lady was so happy and wanted and told him to tell me, thank you, thank you, thank you so much to your friend. She was dead accurate. It was on
Wow.
top of a stack of magazines with a blue pail on it. It was like something like $67,000.
Holy cow. No wonder she was freaking out.
Yeah, it was
Dang.
a lot of money. And luckily I just was, I thank,
Yeah.
I always believe and thank my guides,
So,
God, creator.
so can anybody call you and ask you where they've misplaced stuff? Do you do like psychometry? I mean, like, how can somebody get a hold of you and get a reading if they wanted to? Because I think I
Yeah.
can think of a few people.
Well, it's funny. I never really thought that. I'm a writer. I write books and everything. I never really thought, but I've always tried to use my intuitive skills, even with writing, and I feel like that's where I get the downloads and everything
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
So I never really thought about doing something like this, and of course, I'm not licensed.
Yeah, that's
So if
crazy
I were
that you
to,
have to be
if
licensed.
anybody did it, it would have to be a love offering,
Okay.
like more like
Like
a
a
gift
donation,
type of
kind of.
thing. Yeah, a donation, or like
Okay.
present it as a gift, because I'm not licensed.
Yeah.
But I really just it makes me feel good to help others, especially in something like that, because I know I would have been
Yeah.
devastated. That's a lot of money to lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I I like doing the psychometry and holding things. I don't always need to. Like I said, I can also do remote viewing, but
Yeah.
psychometry is something where I guess because of the item or whatever, I can just able to
Right. But you can do it remotely, right? If you didn't have an
Yes,
object, you could
I
do that.
can do remotely. I'm just saying that with no matter what I do, obviously I cannot make any guarantee.
Yeah, you
I'm
can't
human.
guarantee anything.
I can't
Absolutely.
guarantee anything, but
Yeah.
I definitely,
And that's
and
fair.
I'm usually able to pick up on something, and I also want people to know that see, this is something, and I actually wrote, because I'm writing, a book on my life,
Hmm.
and I actually wrote about this because it really didn't sit well with me. It kind of annoyed me that I understand about having skepticism and people being skeptics. However, you can also be too skeptical. And
Yeah.
basically, what the term, I feel, is very negative, saying that, oh, if somebody was really psychic and that they would won the lottery, that it bull
Yeah.
crap.
Right.
It does not work that way. You are not going to just get boom, 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 and you're just going to know everything before everything happens, and you're going to be. It doesn't work that way because it is not designed for where the universe or whatever. It's not going to allow you to, if it's not something that is for the good of evolvement of your soul or the other
Yeah.
person's soul, and that the others you're involved with, and
Yeah, it's
that
got to be
it
relevant.
yeah, it's so it's the same thing when, like, maybe I might pick up something and the person's going to be like, well, no, I don't know anybody like that, you're no good, I don't know anybody like that. Well, for one thing too, a person has to be open to it, because if you're
Yeah.
trying to do a reading and they just want to do the gotcha kind of thing,
Yeah.
they're going to
Yeah.
have blocks up. So you know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So the person actually, it matters what their attitude is towards what you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Because
Huh.
you will have those that are going to be the gotcha kind of thing. And they're going
Yeah.
to put that block there,
So that actually
to
doesn't
slow you.
help you. It doesn't
Right.
help you. You get false information. So for them, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And they're just negative
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? They're just negative. They're just looking to be the Debbie Downers,
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
like, well, you can have a nice life, go on with
Right.
your Debbie Downing, and
Right.
I'll still have mine, I'll still enjoy my life. And so sometimes though, people, they won't be Debbie Downers, but they might be like, well, I really can't think, I don't know anybody like that. But it doesn't
Yeah.
always necessarily mean if you're wanting Papa to come
Right.
through,
Yeah.
but instead it might be Uncle Thomas that you didn't know
Yeah.
about, or, Aunt Jane, who was along, or somebody, say, might be a great great
Mm-hmm.
grandma. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
and it's maybe because that specific person is coming through because they have some vital information or something
Mm-hmm.
that they want you to know about or to look into. So it's doesn't necessarily mean that the psychic is just way off on it, although we
Yeah.
can be. I like I said, I have my off periods and that, but the point is, though, is that sometimes it's just a matter of that, or it might take them time down the road, and then they'll have the
Yeah. It'll become
ah.
relevant later. Yep. That's
Right.
true.
It could be a friend, it could be your friend's uncle, something like that. And you might mention it to your
Huh.
friend, and they're like, that sounds like Uncle so and so.
Interesting.
So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's really trippy. So can people, like, they can use the email address for our show, the third eye sister souls at gmail.com. It's just the title of the show at gmail.com, and it's all spelled out, third, THIRD, and so on. So can people send you emails to ask for a reading? You know what? Hang on just a second. My dog is barking out on the balcony, and I got to let him back in. So
That's okay. I'm getting a hot flash now
oh,
because I.
hang on. I'll be right back. All right, come on, Teddy.
Whew.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. He likes
That's
to hang
okay.
out on
I've
the
got hot
balcony.
all of a sudden, and I'm trying to
Well, because
cool
you've
off.
been talking about cool stuff. All righty.
Yeah,
So the
that'd be
email
fun.
address is thirdeyesistersouls@gmail.com. And they can also get you on Facebook, right? Can they send you like private messages?
On Messenger, yeah.
Monique
Yeah, it
Burnett,
depends.
B
Yeah,
R
I
U
need
N E.
to, I keep saying to myself, because I want to do it, I want to actually create a Facebook page for our
Yeah,
group, but
right,
I've
right.
just been, there's been so much going on because my daughter's getting ready to
Yeah,
graduate and go off to college,
yeah,
and I've got my son here and that who's transitioning again with, where he's at with his life, with his job and everything else. So it's
yeah.
like,
That's a
it's just
lot.
going to,
That's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, but still, they can get a hold of you.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They
I think
can.
that's really
Best way
cool.
is the email for now until I get the Facebook page set up. I should be doing that fairly soon, though.
Okay. All
Um,
right. And
Getting
you
set
have,
up.
we post these videos not only on Facebook, but also on your YouTube channel,
On
right?
my YouTube channel, it's Mojo's Fire.
Okay. And
Um,
so they can leave a comment there as well.
yes, yeah, because
Did you check them?
I post these videos. I also upload them onto YouTube, and or I have people who have contacted me on my personal Facebook, which is Monique Brunette. And
Okay.
then I also have my Facebook page, a Writer's Corner, which is where
Oh,
I do have all my books
right,
and
right.
everything.
Okay.
So any of those they can contact me on. Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's really awesome. That is so cool. I can't wait to hear what's going to come out of that watch that you had.
It's like this is like the coolest things. Like, oh,
I
you know,
know. I know. And it's I was
now I'm gonna
looking
hold
up,
on to this.
oops. I was looking at some of the information about it, and they're pretty common. Apparently, they're not. They're affordable watches, so it's you
Right.
can't really narrow it down. But I guess they were sold. The year that they were made in 2018, they were sold a lot in the United States, obviously, and also in the UK and the United Arab Emirates, UAE.
Oh
So those were
wow.
three places where they were sold. So it's interesting. Now, here's the
Well, he
thing.
was, like I said, I felt he was in the military, so he would have
Yeah,
traveled. So,
right, right. Yeah, one of the pitfalls that I fall into when I do my intuitive drawings and so on is, it's like I'm connected with this being on behalf of this person, and I'm drawing a portrait for them. And if I start to think
yes.
logically about, oh, this is making sense, this is not making sense, because sometimes these beings have messages for the people that I draw portraits for.
Mhm.
Um, if I start to think about it, then I go off. It's like my left brain kicks in, and
Right.
my intuition is much more
That's me.
subtle than my logic.
Right.
And I lose
That's
track.
me.
I end up, there comes a point where I don't know how much of it is my own stuff, how much I'm projecting, and I do exactly what you said. I tell people from the very beginning, you know what? If this doesn't resonate with you, just
Right.
throw it away or save it for later or whatever. But yeah,
Exactly.
I also never claim to know, what I'm saying is, the
Exactly.
truth, or it should be, relevant for you. You'd better listen. It's nothing like that. So I really like the way that you're approaching the whole thing, because there are lots of, I've met psychics who basically tell you this is how it is, and if you don't believe me, then it's not good for you if you don't believe me. It's basically the
Right.
message.
Well,
And
I'll
it's
tell
like,
you, and you also
oh, I
have
don't
to
know about
be
that.
there. This is interesting that you bring this up. Okay, this is why it's so important too. Like, this is why I tell everybody, who, when they've wanted to offer, I'm like, look, if it is, it's just a gift or a donation. And
Right.
why there is a whole licensing thing, because um for instance, one thing that is totally forbidden, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in the psychic worlds, and that is that you never give like medical advice or
Oh, okay.
whatever. Like, okay, I had an instance where I was going, and this is also in my book. I was attending a place called the Solution Center, and it was one of the last classes that my teacher, because I was going there just to learn how to develop intuitive gifts and
Mm-hmm.
that. And all of a sudden, in the middle of we all had to do this meditation, and I just saw this bright beam of light come down on her chest.
Oh, wow.
And I got very concerned, and I said, look, I don't want to scare you or anything. I said, it's not intended to. I said, but when was the last time you've had a mammogram? And
Okay.
she was like, she didn't like poo-poo it, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because I told her about it, how I saw the light beam of light, and she said, "Are you sure you're not picking up my sister who passed away from breast cancer?"
Holy
And
cow.
yeah, and I said, well, I really feel like though you need. I said, no, I'm not trying to. I said, but I just feel like maybe you should just for peace of mind, go and
Yeah,
get checked,
right.
and so all I know was that was like her last class, and she had been grieving over.
Her sister,
Oh,
probably. Yeah.
no,
Oh,
this was after her dog had passed away, and that was her constant
oh,
companion. And it
oh,
was
wow.
just so devastating to her that she wasn't the same anymore. And that was one of
Yeah,
her last classes that I picked this up.
right.
And it was like a year later or something. I was talking with somebody from there because I was wanting to know how she was doing, and that
Mm-hmm.
she passed away from breast cancer.
Holy cow.
That's what I was told. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, I felt so bad. And but see, that's, and I can
Yeah,
totally understand why, because if you start, you know, telling someone, oh, you better have this surgery done or whatever,
yeah,
but I didn't say anything like that. I just said to
right,
go get checked. I tell any woman, you don't have to be sexy, any woman, hey, get
right.
your, get your mammogram or do
You
your
know,
best.
especially if you have a family history.
Yes.
I mean, her sister obviously, had it, so it would make
Yeah.
sense. I mean, even like you said, just from one friend to another, if you have a family history
Right.
of breast cancer, you should, have yourself checked periodically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I don't view it that I was like, you know what I mean? I wasn't encouraging her to
yeah, yeah.
go,
No, I
I just
think
said
that's
go get
fair.
checked.
Right. I think what you did was fair. So you pick up. Let me just see if I understand this correctly about your superpower, because that's what I like to call it. Okay, so you can hold an object and tell a person about that object, right?
Hmm.
You can do that.
Well, I get, what I'll do is it might not be so
Or
much
do you
the
use the
object, so
object to
much as
channel something else?
it's something that comes off of the person's,
Okay.
where the object has been.
Okay. Okay.
And and it's so funny. Before I knew any of this, you remember I shared with you a song that I wrote called The Teardrop Stone.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
this was before I knew anything about reading about that could read
Right.
off of
Right.
object
Right.
map. But the lyrics go, the teardrop stone found by a river all alone, destined just to roam and roam, and the memories that it makes will
Oh
be
my
the
God.
baggage, it wait, the baggage, let's see. Uh, and the baggage that it takes will be the memories it creates, um, of where it makes its stay.
That is amazing. That's exactly what you do with the object. So you do that,
Exactly.
then you also can remote view. Okay, because that's different. That's a
That's
completely different
different.
skill, right?
That's different.
And then
Yeah.
you can also pick up on entities who have passed away.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's funny because everything, even though, you say remote viewing, but it's all about energy. Everything is made up of energy. So it's all about tuning
Yeah.
into the energy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting. Dang. Now, how did you figure out that you knew how to do this? Like, what? How did you like realize? There had to be a
Um,
moment. Do you remember?
yeah, it's funny because okay, I always knew, like I said, from being a little girl, I mean, practically in diapers, that
Yeah.
because I was the sixth sense child where
Okay.
I could physically see some these,
Okay.
wasn't too often, thank goodness. I wasn't like I
Yeah.
was traumatized in different ways, but I was.
Oh, oh, that was funny, okay? Because I know your history and I know about you, just the way that you said that. It's like, yeah, my superpower wasn't the thing that traumatized me the most. Not that it didn't traumatize me, but oh, jeez. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I knew from then, but it wasn't until, and it resonated with me. And it's an old movie. It came out, uh, I think it came out in the early 90s.
Mm.
Had Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum, and they were psychics. And
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum's, each one of them had different gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Goldblum's was psychometry, and he could read and it somehow resonated for me. And I was
Interesting.
like,
So
I
you
believe,
knew on some level you were aware. Otherwise, it wouldn't have
yeah,
resonated with you. That's interesting.
totally resonated with me. And I was
Wow.
like, that's what it is. That's, like, I don't know. I just, because, and then, like I said, of course, I'm not going to give too much away, but when I was in the book and encountering
Mm.
people with a dark energy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could, I would get a whole vision of what
Right.
they had done and everything. And oh my gosh.
Now, do you think that a person is born with that gift, or do you think anybody can do it? Anybody can learn. Obviously, you were born with it, but can other people learn to do it? Do you think we all have it?
People can. It's it's how open you're willing to be,
Okay.
and practice, and that
Mm.
we all, now that doesn't mean, like, how do I put it? It doesn't mean that everybody is going to have that particular gift, because everybody
Okay.
intuitive, when you talk intuitive, there's all different spectrums of
Okay.
intuitive. So not everybody's going to have that particular gift.
Okay.
They might have it in a different way. Some people have audio. Some
Right. Oh,
people,
yeah. The clairvoyance, the clairsentient, all of
right.
that. Okay.
Some people channel it where they have, and they'll actually have someone coming through them, and they will talk different and everything.
Right.
I always thought that was fascinating. I can't do that. So it
Yeah.
just, it just depends on, but I do believe that every human has access to these types of gifts, but
Okay.
it's how much they are willing to, embrace it, or are they just going to stay too far
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the analytical, I've got to analyze everything, because once you do that, you close your mind off for
Right,
everything.
right, exactly.
You
You know
know.
what? I wonder if the reason why you got that remote viewing thing while you were driving is because your left brain was focused on the traffic. So
Yeah.
your thinking mind was busy, and so your intuition could do its own thing, and the two
I was like,
go two
oh, let's
completely
play.
different things.
No.
I know, right? That was really cool. That is a great story. I love it. I love it. So, yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up here because we got 1 minute
Oh,
left.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry. We were supposed to talk to you about.
no, no, this was great. This was really great because, I have my own intuitive gifts, and we can talk about that in a different episode. I'm not worried about that. But the stories that you have about how stuff just pops up for you is amazing. Okay, it's amazing. So, yeah, the third eye sister souls at gmail.com. Then there's Monique Brunette on Facebook, right, through Messenger. And then there's Mojo's Fire
On
on
YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube. Okay, so those are all different ways that people can get a hold of you. And I guess, they private message you and, you figure out how that's going to work, I guess, once you get to that place. But
and let me tell you, this woman here, Aurora, she blows my mind with her talent, and that with the downloads she gets, these beings that she draws, and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
and I get a bit intimidated because you're,
Oh my goodness.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next time. It's great having a friend like you. I gotta say, you know what,
well, that's how I feel about you.
when people are, I guess, in sync, or they resonate, they amplify one another's abilities
That's
and
true.
gifts. Like their better parts get emphasized and come out even stronger.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how you and I bounce off of each other, which, we're a great pair. Third eye sister souls.
That's right.
All right. Well,
now I feel like I'd be lost without you.
Well, we have to wrap it up because it's been an hour. We will see you guys next week. Hope you enjoyed this show. I certainly did. Get a hold of Monique. She may have some answers for some of your questions.
And we're definitely going to try and get some of those other topics in that we were going to try to do today.
We will. It's supposed to be, just chatting. Whatever comes up, that's what we're going to talk about. All righty. We'll see you guys next week. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.